Welcome to Think Outside the Board. This is the Kickstarter Weekly, in which I talk about the best, in my opinion, crowdfunding games that are going to be completing their campaigns in the next week. So this video functions as a sort of last stop for you to check and make sure there's nothing that's finishing its funding that you might want to back. Now, this period is going to cover the 22nd to the 28th, so any crowdfunding campaigns that are completing their funding during that period, and I've got 3 campaigns for you today. I also just finished up my honeymoon over the last week, and I put out a video after coming back that was fairly late. Later than I like the videos to normally get released, just because I was still playing catch up from my honeymoon. So the last video just came out a day or two ago, and I'm already filming the next video. This video should land on Friday, possibly Saturday, which should be back on track for the future, and these videos should continue to come out on Friday, Saturday at the latest for the following week. That way it gives everyone out there the weekend, at the very least, to take a look at the video and see if there's anything that you're interested in that's completing its funding in that coming week. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your choosing to spend a little time with me today, checking out these campaigns. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. In these videos, I usually start them out by talking about the games that I've played since the last video, but because I'm putting out this new video so quickly since the last one, I haven't played any new games. For next week's video, I should have played Sushi Go Party because my wife Kristen and I are kind of going through our lighter games and trying to decide which ones to keep and which ones to cull. I also have, I think, 8 scenarios left in my campaign of Descent Legends of the Dark, and I should be playing 2 more scenarios in that this weekend. So I'll be reporting back next week about how that campaign is continuing to go. I will say very briefly, my friend Ryan and I really liked it when we started it. I was rating it at about an 8.5, and as we've played it, my rating's gone down to about a 7.5, 7.0. We still like the gameplay. We like the overall kind of story that we're going on, and we like the individual scenarios, but some of these scenarios just have been designed in such a way that you can't really figure out what you're supposed to do on a first play. And it is designed to be played on a first play. You're not going back and replaying scenarios. So the longer that game has gone on and the more we've encountered scenarios that have been sort of problematic for us, and there have been a few now, the lower that rating has dipped. But tune in next week. I'll be talking about that game a little bit more, especially in relation to the 2 scenarios we'll be playing this week. Also in these videos, after I talk about the campaigns that are running, I also usually mention which campaigns I backed from the previous video. I will be doing that this week. And then I usually close the video talking about games that I've acquired since the last video. So we'll simply be talking about the 3 campaigns that are currently running, and then I think it's the 2 games that I personally backed from last week's video. So first up for today is Foundations of Rome, Roads of Fortune and Second Printing. This is on Kickstarter. They had a minimum required funding goal of $100,000. They're currently at $664,000, which is roughly 6.5 times that minimum required funding goal. Foundations of Rome is going to complete its funding on Monday, August the 22nd. This is a game for 1 to 5 players, plays in about 60 to 90 minutes. Complexity on the game is light, and we're going to set the risk associated with this campaign at medium-high. Now, essentially what this is a tile laying game, a polyomino game. However, it's themed around Rome, building Rome, and there are lots of miniatures in the game. You can even get these miniatures with sundrop on them. So even though this is a light tile playing game, there is a lot of table presence, a lot of production value, and a lot of cost behind this if you want to go and get the best version of this game. Now, some people may say that the game is overproduced, and certainly a simple tile placement game that can be explained very quickly that can cost in the hundreds of dollars, maybe more than some people want to pay for their simple little tile placement game. However, there are lots of really complex games out there that have amazing production values, lots of cool stuff. And so this is an opportunity for gamers who maybe like simpler games to have that level of production value. It's going to look gorgeous on your table. There's a lot of great pieces. It's just very expensive for the kind of game that it is. You should know that going in. I also listed the player count at 1 to 5. It's technically a 2 to 4 player count, but there is a 5th player expansion and there is a solo expansion. So if you have either or both of those, it expands the player count from 2 to 4 to as much as 1 to 5. Now, this game is designed by Emerson Matsuuchi. He's best known for the entire Century series, also Reef. But if I'm listing his 5 most highest rated games over at Board Game Geek, we're not going to get to Reef because there are too many Century games. So his 5 most highest rated games include Century Eastern Wonders, Century Gollum Edition, Century A New World, Century Spice Road, which is the same game as Century Gollum Edition just with a different theme, and Spectre Ops. Now on this newest expansion, Roads of Fortune, we've got 2 artists. One of them is new to the series with this expansion. That's Stephen Gibson. He's previously worked on Air, Land, and Sea, Folklore, The Affliction, and Good Critters. And then Damian Mamalidi is back from the base game. He's best known for Brass Birmingham, Brass Lancashire, Foundations of Rome, the base game, Radlands, and Tyrants of the Underdark. And the game is being published by Arcane Wonders. They're best known for Furnace, Mage Wars Arena, Onitama, Sheriff of Nottingham, and Smartphone Inc. Now, there are 3 pledge levels for this campaign and then a lot of add-ons. And the first pledge level is intended for returning backers. It's $40. It's called Architect. This is going to get you the new Roads of Fortune expansion, so you cannot play it unless you already have the base game, which is why this is for returning backers. It's going to include a new solo challenge, some new mechanics, and lots of new components to bring more variability into your game. It's also going to have an errata pack to bring some of the components current with all of the components of the latest printing. The $200 level is intended for new backers. It's called Emperor. That's going to include the latest printing of the base game, the Monuments expansion, the 5th player expansion, metal coins, and then a bunch of modules, including objectives, player roles, trading and stealing, invocations, and will of the console. For $230, you can pledge Maximus. That again is for new backers because it takes the previous pledge level and then adds the new expansion into it. So it's everything I just listed, plus the new Roads of Fortune stuff. Then, moving on to add-ons, here are the other things that you can add on to your pledge. Now, this game is huge. It's a big cube of a box. So for $60, you can buy a custom carrying case that you can bring this box around, or any other similarly sized big cube-shaped box, or maybe several other boxes, but it is designed as a carrying case specifically for Foundations of Rome. You can also add on Sundrop to your miniatures for $50. For $79, you can buy a giant neoprene art mat. The dimensions on this are 36 by 60. Now, this has Foundations of Rome art on it, but it is in general kind of a big art mat, not specific to the game, and something that you really could use for anything. It's kind of a big general mat. For $69, you can get a similar mat. It's called the Adler art mat because it's a little bit smaller. It fits with the Adler table size, and it's 36 by 48 inches. Then if you want a carrying case for either one of those, you can get the art mat carrying case for $15. Now for $39, you can get a neoprene game mat, and this is specific to the game. So it does have graphic design on it specific to the game. You will be using it in the game itself. The dimensions on this mat are 36 by 24 inches, and this also comes with the carrying case. It's called the game mat carrying case to differentiate it from the art mat carrying case, and this case is $10, whereas the art mat was $15. For $19, you can add on metal coins. For $5, you can add on a metal first player statue. Also for $5, you can add on upgraded scoring markers. If you want to get a second copy of the core box, you can do that through the add-ons for $200. You can also add on additional copies of the new expansion, Roads of Fortune, for $40. Gardens of Ceres, which is the solo expansion, can be added on for $15. Language translation packs are available for $20. And for $80, someone who pledged the Senator pledge back on the first campaign can upgrade to the Emperor pledge. So that will give you everything that you need to upgrade your components in your game to the Emperor pledge level. Shipping in the continental US has been estimated at $21, $30, and $35. So $21 is for the new expansion, $30 is for the base game with all of the stuff and that $200 pledge, and $35 is the estimate for the pledge that combines that with the new expansion. Finally, Arcane Wonders is planning on delivering Foundations of Rome, Roads of Fortune, and second printing in June of 2023. From there, we go to a game called Halls of Hegra. This one had a minimum required funding goal of $15.4 thousand. They're currently at about $45,000, which is about 3 times that minimum required funding goal. Halls of Hegra is going to complete its funding on Thursday, August the 25th. This is a one-player game, so this is exclusively a solo solitaire game. It plays in about 70 to 90 minutes. It has a complexity of medium-heavy, and we're going to set the risk associated with this campaign at high. Now, Halls of Hegra is a war game. That's really how we have to define it, but I think even more than that, we have to earmark it as a solo game because it is specifically for solo players. However, within that, it's got worker placement, it's got area control, there's tower defense, and bag building. So there are a lot of different things going on, but it is very much a solo game. It's designed by Peter Shank Olsen, who previously designed a game called Donning the Purple. It's got art by Jog Brogzin, and Joeri Lefebvre, who previously worked on Donning the Purple and Europa Universalis, The Price of Power. The publisher here is Tompat Games, who also previously published Donning the Purple. Now, this is a very simple campaign. It looks pretty neat to me, and as I said, mechanically there are a bunch of different things going on, but there's only one pledge level here, there are no add-ons, so that pledge is $51. Halls of Hegra is the name of the pledge, and if you're in the continental US, shipping here has been estimated at $9, which would bring your total pledge to $60, and again, there are no add-ons available, so $60 is the most that you'll be spending. And finally, Tompat Games is planning on delivering Halls of Hegra in August of 2023. That brings us to our third and final campaign. This one is over on Gamefound. It's for a game called Amygdala. This is actually the second campaign for Amygdala. They came out already. This is Game Brewer. They're publishing this one. They came out already like a month or two ago with another version of Amygdala, and it didn't succeed that well. So they've kind of pared back on what they're offering. The versions here aren't as deluxe as what they were originally offering, but it's still going to be better than the version that's offered at retail. It's going to have lots of wooden resources and some kind of holofoil on the box and the various components, the little pieces, the tiles. This is a tile placement game. Now, Amygdala has a minimum required funding goal of $25.5 thousand. They're currently at $17.5 thousand, so they are not funded yet. In fact, they're at about 68% or 0.68 of that minimum required funding goal. It's a little bit tricky here for Amygdala because they've already gone once. It didn't succeed. They're coming back again. I don't think they're going to cancel this campaign. I do think that the campaign will fund. I think they're far enough along that they will cross the finish line before this campaign finishes. I think in most cases, they probably would cancel this campaign and relaunch. But since they've already done that, I think they're just going to stick with their guns and complete their campaign. And I have a feeling that it will fund, but it's just barely going to get over the finish line. So this is really your decision as a consumer. Do you want your copy of this game, if this is a game that you're interested in, with the extras, which aren't that extra, some wooden components, some holofoil on some of the tiles? Or do you maybe want to wait for it to come to retail and then hopefully get it for significantly less, but also not as nice components? Because Amygdala's already gone around the block once before, I think this is the choice that you're being left with at this point. Amygdala, if it does fund, is going to fund on Friday, August the 24th. This is a game for 2 to 4 players, plays in about 60 to 90 minutes. Complexity on the game is medium light, but very close to medium heavy. It looks very simple. It's got some appealing art design. It feels like it's a simple game, but there's some crunchiness in there that is taking the complexity right up to that medium heavy line. And then finally, we're going to estimate the risk associated with this campaign at medium low. Now, this is an abstract strategy game. You are dealing with tiles that represent the emotions in the brain. There are kind of these brain type boards. The game is called Amygdala. It reminds me a little bit of another game, a Kickstarter that got delivered last year called Vivid Memories. That was a little bit less abstract, but it also kind of worked in the brain, and you were trying to use these tiles to kind of create little connective tissue lines within the brain. But even though this is abstract strategy, it really is at its core tile placement. That is the mechanic that you're going to be using the most in this game. So it's co-designed by Kiesling and Kramer. Michael Kiesling is best known for Azul, Azul Summer Pavilion, Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, Heaven and Nail, and Tikal. And Wolfgang Kramer is best known for Colosseum, Downforce, El Grande, The Princess of Florence, and Tikal. The art here is by Anastasia Kardavenko, and the game is being published by Game Brewer, who's best known for Chimera Station, Hentes, and Gugong. Now, because they've already run this campaign once, it didn't succeed. They're coming back with a slightly pared back version of the game. It's less deluxe. It is a simple campaign. There are only 2 different pledge levels here available, and no add-ons. So for $50, you can pledge the exclusive edition. That's going to include some wooden resources and some kind of holo foil on the tiles. Those 2 things will not be present in whatever copy of the game is eventually sold at retail. And then for $72, you can pledge the all-in exclusive edition. That is going to add in metal coins and 8 little storage boxes with magnetic clasps. Now, if you are a subscriber to Game Brewer, which you can do at their website, you will always get a 25% discount on all of their games. In the past, it's been a great thing. It's something that I've been doing the last year. I've backed several of their games, including Hippocrates, Stroganoff. So I've made it worth my while. Hippocrates also has an expansion campaign launching very, very soon. So if you think that you want Amygdala, if Hippocrates is a game that maybe you didn't back the first time, but you might want to back it this time, or at least you want the expansion, you might want to think about doing that subscriber discount because it will very quickly start to pay for itself. However, Game Brewer has had some very well-produced games in the past, including Gugong. They did a collected version of that included this suede box that I think was probably a step too far production-wise because it's not going to last. But that game had a very, very high level of production. The last couple of their games during the pandemic have seen their levels of production, their kind of levels of component quality suffering a little bit. That was true on Stroganoff, definitely. They even admitted that, and they're making upgraded components available to backers for free through a later campaign that they ran. But I think that was true a little bit of Hippocrates as well. So it's just something to be aware of. I think they found a middle ground, and they're definitely not happy with some of the worst levels of their component quality in Stroganoff from the last year. So they're working to correct that. But it's just something to be aware of, that the quality has dipped this last year, and they are also motivated to bring it back up, at least somewhat up. I have a feeling we're probably not going to see too many games produced on the same component level that Gugong was. That was really kind of a high watermark. So I don't know if we'll get back there, especially because of everything that's happened in the pandemic, but they are committed to fixing some of the mistakes of, say, the Stroganoff campaign and not repeating those. So all things for you to know if you're considering backing their games. Certainly if you're thinking of getting a subscriber discount, because it'll pay for itself, but you are going to have to pay initially for that subscriber membership. So you want to make sure that you have enough things out there that you want to back that will make that buying that discount worthwhile. Okay, in the continental US, shipping for Amygdala has been estimated at $22, and then finally, Game Brewer is planning on delivering Amygdala in May of 2023. Now, that completes our 3 campaigns that I wanted to talk to you about this week. This is going to be a shorter video, but before I do wrap, I'd like to quickly mention the 2 campaigns from the last video that I personally backed. The first of those was Dead Reckoning, Letters of Marque. Dead Reckoning is the latest card crafting and layering game from John D. Clare. He first designed Edge of Darkness, took that to AEG, they liked it, they weren't so sure about it, they decided to publish another game with a similar system, a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to publish, and that was Mystic Vale. It did very well, so they decided to publish Edge of Darkness. That game perhaps did not succeed as well as John may have liked, but he followed it up with Dead Reckoning, and it's gotten really good reviews and people seem to really like it. So they're already back with an expansion Kickstarter for Dead Reckoning. It adds on a new saga. The first campaign had 2 sagas, which are kind of scenario type mission stuff you can add into the game. So there was a new one of those, a third one through this campaign, as well as some just kind of quality of life upgrades, add more variability to the game, just more stuff. I did back that. I backed that just for Saga 3. So it was a smaller back for me. I already have the base game and all the other stuff. So it was a fairly cheap back just to get the newest little expansion. I also backed Return to Dark Tower Covenant. And again, that was a game that ran on crowdfunding before. They've come back for a second printing with a new expansion. I actually passed that one by the first time. I did own the original Dark Tower when I was a kid. I didn't feel the need to jump on the nostalgia bandwagon when the campaign first ran, and I also knew that it was going to be dependent on technology, app technology. There's technology in the tower that turns around, and I believe you also need to have the technology connected to an app for it to work. So there are just a lot of ways that as time goes on, the game could become non-functional. However, it did deliver the first time around. People like it. It's gotten pretty good reviews so far. So I felt like it was worth the risk for me to back it in full now. So that's what I did. I am looking forward to seeing the latest edition of the Dark Tower. I know it's not going to fulfill all of my nostalgia for what I had growing up, but the game wasn't perfect to begin with. It was essentially a race game, and there was a lot of randomization in it. So I'm curious to see this newest iteration and have fun with it, but I'm not expecting it to be the second coming or to somehow give me my childhood back in a new form to delight me. I'm just going to kind of take the game for what it is. I think from what I've heard from people who've played it, it's a pretty entertaining Euro game that still has a good amount of randomization in it. So I think it's going to be a fun kind of experience game to have, something that could be the cornerstone of someone's collection, but it's not a cheap game. And when all is said and done, it takes up a good amount of shelf space as well. So I know that I'll enjoy playing it however many times I do play it, and I'll have to see if I end up keeping it for the long haul or not, or if I determine that eventually once I get it, once I play it, we'll have to see if it's worth keeping, because high price tag, lots of shelf space, and there could be problems getting it to the table with heavy Eurogamers who don't want any randomization, or on the flip side, lighter gamers who it may just be too much for them. There's a lot going on in the game. Great table presence though, amazing table presence. So those are the 2 games that I backed in the last video. If you show up next week, you'll get to see which games, if any, I backed from these 3 campaigns. Now, as far as next week's video goes, I still plan on publishing a video next week, but as of right now, I don't have any campaigns that I know of that I'm going to be covering in next week's video. So next week's video may end up being a video where I more talk about the games that I've been playing that'll include Sushi Go Party, Descent Legends of the Dark, probably a few other light games, and maybe a medium light or medium heavy game thrown in as well. So next week's video may focus more on the played games, less on the campaigns, and I'll just go ahead and say that I will be backing at least one game from this video. So I will have one game, at least one game, that I'll be talking in the section of what I backed from this video. As for games that I've acquired, I don't know. I don't know what's going to come in over the next week. So next week's video will probably be more focused on the games that I've played. Again, thank you very much for watching and spending a little time with me. Let me know in the comments if any of these 3 campaigns appeal to you, and if these are things that you know you're going to back, or you're considering backing, or maybe for something like Foundations of Rome, if it's a game that you'd like to have, but the price tag is just way too much beyond what you want to spend on a game like that. So maybe that's a game that you won't be backing for a specific reason. I'm curious to know that too. Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Also, for those of you who are interested in any of these 3 campaigns, you can go down into the description of the video and I list all of those campaigns, including links, so you can just click on a link and it will take you right to the campaign. You can look at it more, you can see if it's something that you want to back, but that way you don't have to go searching for the campaign. Especially the more time goes on, the more there ends up being campaigns on BackerKit and Gamefound and other places. So this way you don't have to deal with all of those. You can just watch my videos, click on the link if something interests you, and it'll take you right where you need to go. Have a great week. Play lots of great games. Come back next week, find out the stuff that I played. You can see what I liked, what I didn't. Maybe you'll hear about something that would be great for you. And you can also let me know what games you've played this last week. Let me know in the comments, and we can talk about those as well. I'm glad to be getting this video out, shot and published before the weekend, so that you'll have a chance to watch it over the weekend and digest the information before the campaigns are ending. I'll be back next week, same time, with a new video. If there are campaigns that end up funding that week, I certainly will include those as well. But take care, have a great week, and I'll see you very soon.